right. I guess you have to quickly accept that you accept the recording. And then we can start. So you should be all muted by default. You can put your video on if you like, but you don't have to. And you can use the chat whenever you have questions, and I can read them out at the end. At the end, we have a Q&A. You can also open your microphone and speak. Then that will show on the recording though. And here you can find our contacts if you wish to contact us or get in touch with us, join our Facebook group. That's how you find us. And yeah, who are we? Why are we here? Mothers in MiB stands for Mothers in Business. Our international project is aimed to develop more content and activities for international mothers in particular, and parents in general, in English, so that the content of Mothers in Business is also available to our international families. And we want to enhance networking for you to be able to network and meet inspiring people. We would like to influence towards a more inclusive and family-friendly and international Finland. And we also want to support mothers or parents in general in developing their skills and advance their careers and be able to combine working life and family life better. And our MiB International started as a lab project. Now we are a full part of Mothers in Business. And we're having different kinds of events, career-oriented, family and work life related, and also parenting related, as well as this multicultural, multilingual topic is a very big one. And I will at the very end present you still the events that we will have coming up in this event series. This is the first event in this event series, together with International Working Women of Finland and Familia, who will be speaking in those events. And International Working Women of Finland, maybe some of you know them. I'm also part of that, but today I'm presenting mainly for Mothers in Business. But also International Working Women of Finland is there to empower the community, the women professionally and also personally, and to reduce the barriers between internationals and the working life in Finland, to support the internationals on their professional journey, and to make us internationals more visible in the Finnish working environment, also improving professional skills and integrating in the Finnish work life and then society. And those multicultural, multilingual topics are, of course, also there, quite a big part. So not to steal any more time from Nora, Nora will present Familia that she is working for, and she will talk about challenges and chances of third culture kids today. So the stage is yours. I will stop sharing my screen so that you can go ahead now.
Thank you so much for that. Somebody was asking that they can't see the presentation, so please let me know if you could see mine.
I can see yours.
Yes, it's working now. Thank you.
Great. So my name is Nora. And yeah, I'm the volunteer coordinator at Familia. I've been working there before that as Kokeilia, which is like a work trial. I was trying out jobs to know where do I want to fit in Finland. And after that, I stayed as a volunteer on their board until I actually was approached by them and asked if I would like to join their group. So thank you for like inviting us to speak. I think we have quite like few subjects that we will be speaking together with you in this series of events. Today, I'm talking about the challenges and chances of third culture kids. So this is what we are planning to do. This is what I will be speaking of. And we will have, as was told, a Q&A in the end. So you can write your questions if you like in the chat. If you don't want to speak, because it's recorded and you won't be shown unless you speak. So who are third culture kids? They're not only kids, they're adults as well. So that's one thing for sure you need to know from the beginning. Third culture kids are third culture individuals. They are people who were raised in a culture other than their parents or the culture of the country of nationality. This word or term came up in the 1950s. It was by Americans John and Ruth Moore when they were talking about or trying to describe children of American citizens who were working and living abroad. For a long time, this was, they were told that, yes, you have to be a daughter or a son of a diplomat or some business person, but that's not actually very true. As sometimes they can be anybody. They can be kids that were raised by intercultural families or intercultural marriages. So, for example, two different cultures in the house. So the child end up having his own third culture. It could be children of war. They have gone into camps other than their own home country. Parents still had inside their little house their own culture, but outside is a very different culture. It can be even an adult who moves away from home quite early in age. I would put, for example, my sister. She's both parents are Finns. She was born and raised in Finland, but then she decided to move away and lived in East Asia. So she ended up taking those cultures in. Today in Finland, she doesn't feel that she's pure Finn. She identifies as a Finn, but she has other cultures that she has adopted within that culture. So she doesn't, she ended up being a third culture kid. Many times so how do how can the third culture kids develop, and what are the characteristics of those people or individuals? Usually with quite cross-cultured lifestyle, so it's difficult to guess where are we from by just seeing one part of us. Language, we have a lot of languages going on. Rarely we are one language. We are always bilingual or even multilingual. We can build bridges. We are high in mobility. We like to move. We don't like to stay in one place for too long. We're rootless. We have the rootlessness. So we actually don't have somewhere sometimes to call home. The home is where we are. So we can be. I can live in anywhere in the world and feel like, yes, this is home. But then there are also some side effects to that. Third culture we have a lot of expectations as third culture, like we expect to repeat. We repeat a lot, we have large view of the world. So we see a lot, the world differently. We see people differently, but we are also very restless. We get stressed. Why is things going so slow? Why things are not moving as fast? Or what do I need to do? We need to stay busy quite often. You would find us very much needing to stay busy. Sense of belonging is often missing in our life, and that ends up affecting our relationships as adults. We don't know how to connect with other adults. So we end up connecting, instead of connecting with the same nationality or same race in some cases, or same religion or ethnicity, we end up actually more connecting with people who are very mixed, who are similar to us, where we feel comfortable of being who we are. Third culture kids used to be looked at very often, as I said, kids of diplomats, but that has changed. Immigration was definitely the key word in 2016. So all of these immigrants, adults who came to different countries in the world, moved borders. Their children will have a different culture than theirs, will have a different culture than the country they live in as well. It might take sometimes generations to end up adapting to one culture again. Also, many kids are born into, like, as I said, intercultural marriages, which like we work with a lot in Familia. So those who go to international schools, those they end up meeting up a lot of people from different cultures and different backgrounds, and they start adopting their cultures. They start adopting those things they do. Sometimes found to have adopted children could have those characteristics as well, because especially if they are adopted just after a few years, their first 6-7 years, because the memories of their past culture is still present, and it is part of who they are. Myself, I'm born Finnish. I lived my first 6 years here. Then I moved and lived 16 years in Kuwait, which is an Arab country on the Persian Gulf, a very small one. But I had a very intercultural family there in Kuwait. So we were huge. We were from all around the place. We were from Asia, from Africa, we had European people in our family. So we were very intercultural family. So I could see clearly how those characteristics that I was talking about come across my own personality. I have also raised a third culture kid. We're raising another one now, but the first one is now 22 years old. What I've noticed that in the lifetime with her, many of her characteristics where she ends up, we are living in Finland now. When we moved to Finland when she was 16, she starts missing Bahrain, where we were living before that. She misses Cyprus, where we were living before that. So when we were living in Bahrain, she's missing Finland. She's like, when are we going home? And when we are in Finland, she's like, no, when are we going back? So you can see that since very young age. And she moved from Finland, away from Finland when she was 4, and moved now again when she was 16. And I can see those characteristics that I need to always guide her through them. So many of my friends are third culture kids, and yes, some of them are diplomats kids. I have a great one who have lived in a lovely person, lived in Brazil since her childhood. I think she was 6 years old, and she moved out when she was a teenager. And until today, she identifies more of a Brazilian rather than identifying as a Kuwaiti, which she is. She's her nationality. She feels she's more American, even because she finished her studies there. So you can see that she couldn't live back home in Kuwait. She ended up choosing a whole third country to live in, so she could be who she is. It seems that many argue that the third culture kids are only the kids, but I would say even adults can turn into that, and the word should change to third culture individuals or people, but not. But that is debatable. It's hard to identify the exact number of third culture kids around the globe. I remember in a TED talk, which I have, I would share in the end of with the links. So if anybody wants it, can look for it. Then the address of that talk was, where is home? Pico did that talk for TED, and he estimated that we were approximately 220 million in that video. And that video was made in 2013. So we have grown massively since that. And it will continue growing with the culture barriers are dissolving. I do advise most of you to watch this video because it will help you to understand sometimes the feeling that we go through. The way he speaks or the way he puts out the information, it's somehow like somebody has gone inside my brain and took out my feelings out and explained it to the world. So I did enjoy that video, and I've watched it several times. What are the cons of that? Being a global citizen is a great thing, but it has also many difficulties and negativities, and those are the price that we pay. Sometimes it can be very high. It took from me over 30 years of my life to find my own identity. I'm speaking about different therapies, traveling around, looking for myself in different countries, and searching, doing all the kind of meditation, healings, whatever was put in front of me, just to find who I was. I was neither an Arab, nor I was a Finn. So who am I? What was I? I saw my daughter struggling with that in the past 20 years. The first 2 years, of course, it's not seeable, but at the age of 3, it started showing very clearly. She identifies as Finnish when someone asks her where is she from. Yet in Finland, she often feels that she doesn't belong. She is a lovely young adult, but she sadly, for her mother, believes that she will move after her higher education. As I said, she misses Cyprus when she is outside of Cyprus. She misses, she wants to come back to Finland. She comes back to Finland. She misses Bahrain and Cyprus and moving to Bahrain. So she is, she has this big thing that most of us go through, the identity and belonging, and the identity confusion and the struggle that we go through. Of course, there are solutions, but not everybody can take those solutions straight away. Sometimes you need to wait and find your own way. Each one has their own path. But with children, how do we help them to belong, and how do we grow this identity is accepting those identities. We don't have any Greek Cypriot blood in us, but we lived in Cyprus and the Greek side for 7 years. So my daughter took a lot of that in, and I still make like the Greek food for Easter, and we have quite few celebrations where there is Greek music going on, and I enhance it. I allow her to be who she is, and that is part of her. Even as a parent, you do not, and if you don't like the culture that is your child involved in, or their identity is involved in, you should not speak of that culture negatively. This often is found between ex-spouses, somebody who have lived in another country and moved away, and with a bad experience in the end, ends up hating that place and that culture. But it is part of the child's identity and their own right of that identity. So as a parent, even if you don't so much like it, you should not resist it, because it can cause more identity confusion. The child will show you that they don't like the culture, or they try to convince themselves that they hate that culture. So it causes confusion more, and it will take longer time to fix. We can also adapt different things from those countries. Like I said, food, music, colors, celebrations. I know I celebrated Finnish Christmas wherever I was. The latikot, the food were filling up the table. It smelled like glöggi. I would make my own glöggi if there was no mulled wine found in that place. I would make my own, and I'll make sure that everything is reminding us of that part of our culture. So another problem is, make sure to explain that media doesn't always tell the truth. You have to always explain to your child those things so they don't get into shocks, and allow them to stay in contact with those friends and people they left behind. We are usually missing someone. There is always somebody somewhere we're missing. And one of my best friends, I haven't seen her for almost 10 years now. Even though she lives in Sweden, financial reasons, I can't travel to Sweden. And I miss her. And my daughter, I see her missing her friends from Cyprus, from Bahrain. And even though she has moved here at the age of 16, she has made 0 friends in Finland. Her personality is a bit different. So she was not accepted in pure Finnish cultured groups, even though she's a Finn. She felt left out. She couldn't make those connections. She ended up having all of her friends online. And it took me years to understand that that is her social network. They are on that line, on that piece of thing on her desk in her room, and that's why she is there most of the time, because that's all the socializing she has. She couldn't get it outside, and this is one problem that we do face. Of course, the solution is we stay in touch through social media, through all these things that has been left for us, luckily, and travel as much as we can back to those countries where there are our friends. My daughter at this moment is in Bahrain with her and seeing her friends and other parts of my family. I ended up marrying a Bahraini man when we lived there. So also his family became part of hers. And for her, this is a great thing. I couldn't go, but you can go. Allow them to go. I allowed her to travel to Cyprus for 3 months and experience this being in Cyprus and remembering that. Another problem we usually face is the question, where are you from? That question is usually very difficult. Sometimes it ends up being like, where are you from? I would say I'm from Finland, but I speak Finnish with a very funny accent. So they're like, but no, where are you really from? And it ends up being very sometimes tiring. I do understand that funny accent shows that you're not from here. But I have been raised abroad, so of course I'll have an accent. My English accent changes from country to country. I've been living in Finland now for 6 years. I have a new, total strange English accent that I don't even know where does it go or where does it come from. In Cyprus, my English accent was going to British because I only dealt with British people in Cyprus. And so this is the thing, we end up, it's very difficult for us to be explaining where we're really from, because we are from everywhere. We are usually from many places at once. I am a Finn, I am an Arab, I am a Greek, I am an international. I have parts from Philippines and parts from Iran and parts from Africa. And these are all mine and they are part of me. This is who I am. But how do I explain it for you? I can't sometimes. I don't have the time. Even an hour, I wouldn't. If I had an hour to explain, it will still be not enough. We usually have an issue of not being able to stay in one place for too long. And that often shows that we start feeling that we don't belong. We need to move again. Where do I find more belonging? And we move a lot. We do move a lot. Very rarely, or the minority of us actually end up going back to their home of nationality, their country, and settling down and not moving anymore at all. Those are, I think in some statistics, they were around 20% only of us. And it's difficult for us to find the country to settle in. So when I'm in Cyprus, I was happy, but I see the negativities and I end up wanting to move somewhere else. I moved to Bahrain. I lived there for 6 years. I start seeing the negativities come up. So we moved to Finland and so on. And that's the movement that we go as soon as, like, okay, we feel that this is coming to an end. And when you ask me like which country you belong to, it is like, I explained it once to a friend, like, she's like, but you're a Finn. And I said, yes, but it's like you're asking me to choose, do I want my head is Finnish My arms are in Cyprus, and my legs are in Bahrain, and other parts of my body are in Kuwait. And you're asking me to choose one of those parts of body, and it's very difficult to do. Those countries are part of us, and you can't take those parts. Even if I don't have any Cypriot blood, I can't imagine my life without Cypriot touch and Cypriot food and Cypriot and Greek music, or the smells, or I miss it. I miss them so much. I miss them like, and it aches. My body aches from how much I miss them. Of course, one of the great solutions for this is always trips and moving, traveling, going back to those countries and seeing around. Like I did with my daughter. I told her, go to Cyprus. She stayed there for 3 months in 2019. That in the end, she was like, oh, Aiti, I want to come back. I can't stay here. Even though she was missing it and she was sure that that's the country she wants to live in. She comes to Finland, COVID hits, and she realizes like early this year, she goes and says like, I want to move back to Bahrain. I can't live here. I need to go back to Bahrain. And now she's in Bahrain again. So this is what happens. You allow them to go because there is, as my mother said, there is no perfect country. But every country has its positive parts and the negative parts, and we just need to know what do we need now. For my children, for my younger child, he's 7, Finland is my option. Education, life at this moment. I'm happy I'm here through especially through COVID, but it's a choice, and I'm not sure if I will stay forever. But for now, this is the right choice, the better choice. One thing you would think that we would get over would be culture shocks and weather shocks. We don't. When I moved to Finland, Finland in my head was this beautiful long summers with my grandmother in the forest. We're picking up berries, making blueberry pies, and she's doing the mushroom soup. And that was in my head. That was the thing that I had pictured. Winters are all white. Oh, we have the snow and we go sliding, and it is so fun. And I moved to Finland at the age of 22 after 16 years away, and I realized like, yeah, that's not exactly Finland. Yes, they are part of Finland, but that's not exactly the weather of Finland. So I end up having a depression. It was my first depression in my life through that shock, even though I was telling them I can't be depressed. I'm a happy person. I'm a positive person. I can't be depressed. I'm happy. And they said like, no, the pain in your body and the things that your heart is doing and body aches are due to depression because of the darkness. And half year after that, I moved to Cyprus. So it was very easy for me to move. Solution of whether maybe we could tell our kids. Solutions usually are also for us as adults. We need to check. We need to check cultures. We need to check the weathers. We need to know about these things. I thought that Finnish families were so warm and lovely, and we meet, and I remember them on Christmas holidays, and I remember them in summer. And growing up as an adult and realizing we meet like 3 times a year was a huge shock. It didn't make sense. Even as an adult at that moment, it did not make any sense. For my daughter, she came once when we were in Cyprus, and she asked me about my Muslim friends and Muslim family members who I dearly love, and I'm proud of who they are. And she came to me saying that she was so stressed and sad because they are all going to hell. And yes, she got that from school in Cyprus. Somebody has said that due to the conflicts with Turkey, it has become a big thing that Muslims are bad people. And that was the moment that I decided to move to Bahrain. And within less than 6 months, we have moved to Bahrain. And like you can see, the moving is very easy for me. Just, let's move. So what? And we lived in Bahrain for 5.5 years, almost 6 years. After 2 years, and I remember very well, we were in the car and my daughter goes and says, Mom, thank you for moving here. And I asked her, like, why? She said, now I know that Muslims are very nice people. And I was like, of course they are. Of course they are. Everybody, every country has very nice people. It's just that you need to open your eyes and see the culture, see the nice people in them. Don't allow those outside stories, outside talk, media talk to affect you or allow them to affect your children. Let them be proud of who they are. My daughter has some parts that comes from that culture. I don't want her to be ashamed of being, to have quarter Muslim blood in her or so. So it's not fair. It's not fair. So what can we do to support the third culture kids? We will talk now more of the children. If you have kids who are growing as third culture kids, one of the things, educate yourself. It is okay if you don't know a culture. It is okay that you don't know anything about it. You don't know their language or you don't agree with what they have. But if it's part of your child, educate. How do you bring it up? How do you speak about it? There are so many books and resources. I actually add in my sheets. There are like some links on Goodread for a few books that I would recommend to read about the third culture kids. And they address, like many of them address those international experiences. They will help you. They will help you to understand what your kid would go through if you are not going through. There are also online, there are many websites and many places where you could find help, many researchers, countless. They're total, like you can spend hours on that. So go through them, understand what are the things that your kid might go through. Encourage arts and sports. That is something that I did with my daughter. Maybe you won't find friends at school. Maybe you don't find people that you kind of connect with. But like we say, you can play football in any language. So you can draw in any language. You can find people that have the similar interests. My daughter is a gamer. She finds gamers online. And so she connects. I have nothing to do with it. I don't know. I don't understand that world. I don't even pretend to understand that world, but I try to support her. That is her world. That is her hobby. And that is how she finds her own community and her own people. Find supportive community for yourself, especially for yourself. find another parents who are struggling. We're at Moms in Business. Find other mothers. Ask them if they go through the same problems at school, same problems at daycare, same problems in hobbies. You will be shocked. I think most of us go exactly or similar situations. We have similar stresses. Get into connection with different organizations that do those kind of groups that you can find similar people. You don't have to be from abroad to be a third culture kid. You can be a pure Finn who has been born, raised here in Finland, and has nothing to do with other cultures. But you have a child that you adopted from somewhere else, and that child brought their culture. Don't take that culture away from him, because that is a part of their culture. So try to find intercultural families who have something to do with that culture. You might not be able to support them yourself, but there are people, there will always be people. Finland is filled with people that have contacts with almost all cultures of the world. Educate others. This is a mistake that I didn't do. So I learned very, very much of this point. I learned it firsthand. Educate your family, your people who are surrounding you about what are the things that your child might be going through. I should have told my mother that, listen, my daughter will be going through this, through that, through this. So please understand that she will have to go through them. I didn't. And my mother ended up stressing more, pressuring more, stressing me more. And it ended up being that kind of a cycle. I know a grandmother worried about her grandchild, but then it could have been avoided if I was able to tell her that, listen, my daughter is going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So take that time, tell the teachers, tell the school teachers, listen, my child is coming from this culture and that culture, and it might be very difficult for my child to adopt into the system straight away. So please let's be in contact so we communicate about this, and be honest with those teachers. Let them support you to support your child. Don't do it on your own. But the biggest support you can give your child, and I would say even yourself, is to allow yourself or your child to grieve and say goodbye. Sometimes it's difficult to leave a country that you have built so much memories. You're leaving your friends, you're leaving everyone behind. So as an adult, it's so difficult for me. So I can imagine as a child how difficult that is. It's like a loss. They have lost those friends. My daughter cried for days and nights that her friends are not answering her messages anymore, that she feels that she's lonely, that she has nobody. So it is good to allow them to grieve. Allow them to go through their goodbyes. Let them say their goodbyes. Let them say their goodbyes out loud, so they could understand, and you could understand that now we are moving and there will be some pain. And find support through that. You're feeling lonely, you're feeling alone, you feel sad. Contact those friends, talk to them, call them, say how you're feeling. And I'm sure you will find a lot of support. Call the people around you here. Talk about it in groups. Find peer support. You will find a way through. So from cons to prose. Angel, I think, I don't know if I could pronounce his name right, Woods Cabrera, wrote a very good article in Harvard Business Review. The article's name was What Being a Global Really Means. And part of that article says, truly, global leaders act as bridge builders, connectors of resources and talent across cultural and political boundaries. Relentlessly dedicate to find new ways of creating value. They don't just think and act global, they are global. I have attached, I think I have, if I haven't, I'm sorry, and I will find it. It should be online, still available, a link for that article, because it was a great article. There are solid reasons companies deploy their people in different countries and cultures. The most successful companies in the world usually have many different cultures within their workplace. But another reason are the importance of employers shape their workforce, global experience, and build culture awareness. You wouldn't know how important that is. My husband was shocked. He has studied marketing and business. So when he came to Finland and a company approached him, a very successful company, for a project, and we're talking about a great profitable number project, they asked him, we want you to be a cultural expert. We want you as a cultural expert. That's all we want from you. We want you to explain for us why that culture thinks that way, why that culture talks that way. What do we should not do? What are the secrets? What are the really hidden secrets of do's and don'ts in that country? What do we need? How do we need to speak? How do we need to talk to women? How do we need to talk to men? How do we need to represent our company? What are the gifts that we give them? What are the gifts that we expect to receive from them? And I have never experienced that before. It was such an amazing job that I was even shocked, like how great that project went, just because they had one person doing those bridges. They were connecting those bridges. Nobody's expected to know all cultures, but those third culture kids, they know a lot, much more than you think they would, and especially as adults. So they are really great to have at work. They are highly adaptive. We adapt very fast. I know I do. I can work almost everywhere, anywhere, and every single time I've worked somewhere, I would hear my boss saying like, oh, Nora, you're such an asset. You're such an asset to any person who ever works with you. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like, I never realized that I am such an asset. It took me years to understand my value. We can adapt in working with different cultural people. We can talk, we can actually explain that to each other. Like we will explain to different colleagues how the other colleague might be thinking. So like, you know, that person could be thinking about this and that because they come from this culture, and in that culture they do that, and explaining to the other one, the other person's side. And that's rarely found. So they are important. They're empathetic and communicative. We talk. I could talk for hours. You can talk to me. I am a good listener, and I could communicate with you. We can be in communication. I listen to what you actually are saying. I'm trying to understand what you are saying, not the words you said. We like the third culture kids have move forward mentalities. So their capacity is to focus where we're going. So we kind of very fast, we can very fast go for the track. Okay, we're going that side, we need to do this and that, and we start running that way and trying to get things done. We are good in observing, and we are good coaches. Maybe not me, but most of the coaches I have had have been third culture kids, people who have moved through different borders, people who have gained a lot. And those have been some of my best coaches. I've never been coached to be a coach, so I don't think I want to be a coach, but I can observe, that for sure. I can see things. And I can see that in my daughter when her student counselor ended up calling me and asking me, like, can they use her because she has a very high observation. She can see things that others are not seeing. She calculates very fast what is going to happen in the room. And all these came from moving place to place. She needs to know, she needs to she needs to know what are things that are happening around. They're naturally curious. They are very curious, and usually we do ask a lot of why and what if. I ask a lot about your culture. I want to know what is the culture. So I ask questions that most people find weird to ask, like, oh, so do you do this in your culture? Do you have this in your country? What do you do in this situation? What do you do in that situation? They get things done. A childhood adaptability ends up being an adulthood adaptability. We cross culture and boundaries and focus in finding new ways to create value. So in other words, globalization is in our DNA. And most of us are bilingual or multilingual. In my house, we speak 4 different languages. My son speaks, he's 7 and speaks those 4 languages. In Familia has been founded in 1988. It was meant first for families that were Finns who are married with non-Finns, with expats or foreigners, but it ended up being more of a national expert today for to help and support intercultural families. We have a lot of activities which are peer support, dual family trainings. So if you find difficulties with a partner starting with different cultures, there is a training on that. We have dual mother-baby groups, father groups, divorce groups as well, for peer support. We do a lot of webinars, online activities, volunteer activities. So we are very active in the intercultural floor in Finland. Advices, they can get any advices through emailing us, through contacting us, and all of our advices can be face-to-face, online, emails, phone calls, and they are all for free. We do projects. We have a lovely person with us today, or I don't know if she's still with us. We have a project called Bilingual Project, which supports the minority languages for kids under school age. And that's also made for parents who cannot support their child's other language. Maybe like I would try to support my daughter's Greek language. I can't support it because I don't speak Greek, but if she was under the school age, she could have got support. I could have taken her to those supportive teams and groups that they are planning to make. And we also have an anti-racism project that will end this year. It has developed Let's Understand workshop, which is to understand, helps people to understand how racism and discrimination can affect people. And sometimes those people are not only a color of skin, it can be a different culture on its own. This project also developed a manual for parents and professionals and others to use it to understand racism and how to act with racism. So this was me, and I think I've spoken enough, and I would love to hear if anyone else here would like to ask questions or if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Nora. That was really insightful, interesting to hear what third culture kids might struggle with and what asset they can still bring when we manage to support them and manage to guide them through the difficulties that they might have. That we do need those people. Definitely in the future in our societies.
Yes, I do agree with that.
Oh, here's a very great question. How can I support third culture kids as a teacher?
Well, one thing is learn about what are those cultures that are involved in that child. Let him or let her, let the child be proud of those things. Let them, you can see what are the cultures that are included in that child's culture, and bring a subject at the class and talk about it and the positive parts of those. And let that child as well speak proudly about it in front of people, in front of the other students. And this is what I've been trying actually to say. For schools, there is no bad culture, there is no bad religion, there is no bad ethnicity. They are all beautiful. They all have beauty. So if we actually allow people to share those beauty, the beauty of those, the teachers can find online enough material to speak of those cultures. It would be amazing. We would be creating an intercultural and supportive community. And if we start with those children, you will be amazed of what they can do in future.
Yeah, that's a very good hint. I think that someone wants to comment. No, it seemed like a microphone was open. I remember that in our my kids' daycare, it is very international. I think there are maybe a few children that have two Finnish parents, but mostly it's at least one foreign parent or both parents from another country, and they do regularly talk about those cultures. The kids are handcrafting flags, and they are telling about where their parents are from and what the influences and what they can bring books in their languages. And they talk about, they have this, what is it called in English, this yearly calendar with the celebrations of different cultures, and they talk about these when they come up, and parents can prepare something for those celebrations. And I think this is an amazing way to also show what great things there are in the world and what cultures can bring.
Yes, I think that's a very like great way to start. My son was in regular Finnish daycares, and there was not one daycare that he had all, like, let's say, all parents are Finns. He always had like these mix with him. And he himself came to me and said, "Mom, I want to be put into English school." So he goes now to bilingual school. He wanted to be with people like him. He understands who he is. And that is a very important thing. You need to listen to your child and allow him to express, allow them to say what they're comfortable with. Now he's in school that almost everybody's like him, either like even children that have both Finnish parents, but they all speak this English and Finnish and mix. And he feels part of a group, part of a community, and it feels nice. It's really beautiful to see.
Mm. Are there any other questions? I would have one if no one else. I was wondering, what would you say, how important is it, for example, for two parents from another culture living in Finland to keep practicing a culture, is that the wrong term, but living their culture and actually like really living it instead of adapting? Because I think earlier it has been more that it was asked from the parents also to integrate, to adapt more to the culture they are now living in, to make it easier for the kids. What would you say?
That's, yeah, I've been through these myself. Like I was put into that kind of corner that I need to adapt with what is surrounding me, and I need to be, I need to be a Finn, I need to be an Arab, I need to be this. And it can cause a lot of confusion because that you have other things inside in you. That you can't be, I am a Finn, and nobody has the right to take that away. I am an Arab, and nobody has the right to take that away. But when I sit with the Finnish society, like pure Finnish people who were born and raised here, I will find these differences. I will find myself that I am different, even I like it or not. Even if I was raised here, I was different. Even when I was raised 16 years, I lived in Kuwait, I was very different. People would tell me, go back to Finland. You don't belong here. In Finland, they call me, go back, you don't belong here. So it's kind of like, I am a mix of those two. And as a parent, you need to give it to me. That's my birthright. But you also need to understand that I will bring culture from the outside. So when I go to school, when my friends celebrate Christmas Finnish way, I would want that too. And I will like it, and I will take it, and I will like their food. I will think that the riisi piirakka, the Karjalan piirakka is the best food in the world. And that's my right as a human being. And as a parent, you should not be like, oh no, but the food in our country is much better, and you should not like this food. You need to like that food. But it is part of me. So it's a part of the child. Keep your culture, be proud of your culture, show them the beauty of your culture, but allow them to enjoy the culture here. Don't talk about the culture, like, especially if you are, like now we're talking Finland, so don't talk about the Finnish society or Finnish culture as bad, but let them adopt that. Talk about the beauties in there, even if you don't like it as much, but talk about the beauties. Let them take both. They will be a great bridge between both countries. You never know what they can do. Barack Obama was one of the third culture kids, just so we know. There are many very, very successful people who are third culture kids. So they know a lot. They get to feel a lot.
Yes, another interesting question about the different levels of socioeconomic statuses of third culture kids, that when we talk about the kids of diplomats, for example, that is probably a little bit different than for kids of people who had to flee their country. Or
yes.
The question, I'm just reading the question. There are differences between third culture kids from a bit upper level of socioeconomic conditions with many privileges, and then a bit lower level of socioeconomic conditions. And what's your advice for kids?
Definitely there are. The thing is, those let's say the diplomats kids, they might have had it like great living standards, but they have learned that there are many things in the world. Like they will have more empathy for the non-privileged ones. Because they have seen more. They haven't lived in this rich neighborhood, like in close places. They actually, when you live in a country, you will see what's going on in that country. So you see different things. But yeah, those people who, those unfortunates who end up coming from those more unfortunate surroundings, let's say, asylum seekers from war, they end up being in these camps, from camp to camp. Like we have here in Finland quite few that have left when they were children at the age of 8, 9, and then arrived to Finland when they were older teenagers. So how much have they seen between camp to camp, from going from a country to a country? They have a lot in their pockets, a lot of richness from seeing all that. But they might, in my opinion, that's my personal opinion, they need supporting to get these things out. They will be as useful, and if not even more useful than those diplomats' children, because they have seen hunger, maybe they have seen poverty, they have seen maybe war and dead people and all these kind of traumatic things. So if they heal from those traumas, the thing that stays in the end is so rich that that it's even difficult to, like, I can't even wait until those kids who have moved to Finland are now getting slowly being adults, how much they could give to this country. And the world. There are many that have moved other countries, and I think they will bring a lot to the table, but we need to allow them to. We need to help them to reach there. We're having difficulties sometimes with schools, because a person from certain backgrounds, they say no, they try to move them to one direction. That has to be stopped. Use what they have, because what they have is much more important than getting them to be social workers and cleaners and cooks, because the richness they have from this experience is extremely, extremely powerful. And companies that will hire them and will help them through and will support them, and the teachers who support them and everybody who support them, they will see the benefits that come from those.
I think there we are back at the school, on the school level also, how to support them already in school and show them what they can bring or what they are bringing with them, to encourage them to go for whatever they want.
Yeah, like actually those like these schools, if we do get the schools working to help those third culture kids from all around, whatever background they have, and be proud. One of the things that I noticed that some people try to do is break the other culture, the old culture. So I would go, for example, to Islam, because it's easy for me to connect with that. How they tell you they are not good. Women are treated that way. So yes, there is some negativities that you might have heard. They might not be true. Search what is positive as a teacher. I know you don't like that culture and you're not going to be a Muslim, but don't try to make your student who has a part of him from that culture hate that culture, because it's part of his identity or her identity. And when they end up seeing the good in both, they will not be that and they will not be that. They will be somewhere in between that help those to get together, makes them understand, that's something I often say. I would like the schools all to change from that perspective. Yeah.
Will probably still take a few years, but I like the idea that we can influence it towards that our children and latest our grandchildren can grow up in a world where this is just completely normal.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We are already
thank you
over time and have lost some people on the way. So I think we can now stop the recording. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for being here. It was great.